He threw the gavel at Yuji with one hand, made it appear in the other, then threw it again with that different hand, constantly repeating the exact same technique over and over again. It was like his own projectile. Yuji is running for dear life, trying not to get hit by that attack. He really said, "Huss, huss, huss, huss." So after Megumi and Yuji were split up after entering the Tokyo colony, this man literally got set up by this girl. Yuji ends up finding the location where Higuruma was. Thanks to this kid named Amai, he didn't lie to Yuji and actually told him to drop on his location. Yuji runs inside to see Higuruma chilling inside of a fucking bathtub. That shit is so random. He said taking a bath fully clothed feels better than he expected. I deadass gotta try that one day. Back to the fight, Yuji tries to chat it up with Higuruma, but this man literally tried to charge his ass, saying that since he's a lawyer, you gotta pay up front just to speak to him, as if that shit matters in the events that's going on. Good thing he was just fucking with him. So while trying to negotiate to get his 100 points to add a new rule, Yuji was able to assess that Higuruma isn't a re-awakened sorcerer from the past. He found out that he's a newly awakened sorcerer who just got his new curse technique. Yuji just comes forward with his plans, saying that he wants to stop the culling games, but Higuruma just looks at him like he crazy. I literally found that shit hilarious. Because of that, he rephrases his plan, saying that he just wants to stop the obligated killings, and with his points they could do so. But Higuruma says fuck no, as he sees the potential in letting the games continue as it is. Higuruma literally viewed the culling games as a more direct and impartial form of justice. So by letting the games continue, he can act as both the judge and the prosecutor to punish the rule breakers directly. Yuji got impatient and immediately started demanding to use Higuruma's points, even if he gotta take them by force. Higuruma immediately felt the vibe and got up from his bathtub ready to throw hands. So while Yuji is assessing him, Higuruma just casually walks off the stage and pops his domain, Deadly Sentencing, right off the bat. Deadly Sentencing is a non-lethal domain expansion made by Higuruma himself that functions as a courtroom, forcing targets into a binding trial. Yuji runs up to Higuruma thinking maybe he could whoop his ass before he fully activates his domain, but Higuruma looks at him like he dumb as shit. Yuji freezes up mid-punch and Higuruma tells him that all acts of violence are prohibited in his domain. Well, there goes his plan. He unleashes a Shikigami called Judge Man, who basically acts as an impartial judge that investigates, tries, and punishes a target within the domain based on real crimes they committed. For Yuji's crime, he entered a parlor while he was under the age of 18. For those who don't know, a parlor is basically just like a betting place where people can come together and bet on things illegally or legally. Higuruma has evidence given to him by Judge Man for that case. And y'all, get this, it's not a guarantee that it will confirm the charges alleged against him. So the overall goal is he has to argue for himself and win an innocent verdict. Higuruma tells Yuji he has three options: confess, stay silent, or deny. He's also allowed to lie for false statements. Yuji begins assessing the situation and how he can find a way out of this. His crime was entering the parlor illegally, so he came up with three options. 1. If the piece of evidence doesn't prove he entered, all he has to do is deny or remain silent. 2. If the evidence proves that he did enter, he could just say it was just for a different reason, like using the bathroom, rather than playing the games. But there's a chance the evidence denies that and he could be found guilty. And 3. If the evidence proves that he not only did he enter the parlor, but played the games as well, it's an automatic guilty verdict. So he thought maybe he could just admit that he did enter to get a lighter sentence, but unfortunately it's still not a guarantee that he will even get a lighter sentence. Yuji ended up going with the second option of admitting he entered, but only because he had to take a shit. Higuruma gets the evidence and pulls out a clear photo of Yuji inside the parlor that was captured by camera footage. Since he admitted to entering the parlor, that photo proves that him going in to just use the bathroom was bullshit. It proved that Yuji went inside to play the gambling games and was charged with criminal trespassing. Judgment gave Yuji his verdict with guilty and confiscation, transporting them back to the stage where they started. While Yuji was trying to process what the fuck just happened, Higuruma threw his fucking gavel at Yuji and started sprinting towards bro like a prime high school running back. He teleported his gavel that was in the air back in his hand. He expanded the size of it to a giant looking hammer like he Amy Rose and then smacked Yuji towards some chairs. We found out that Higuruma can alter the size of his gavel and make make it appear and disappear at will. This is going to be a difficult fight for Yuji because he cannot use his curse energy. Yuji was quite literally throwing hands as if he were a regular person. Higuruma is so skilled at fighting since he's a new freshly awakened sorcerer. He was literally able to adapt to his skills in such a short period of time. He's basically a prodigy at this point. Yuji threw the gavel at Higuruma thinking he could hit him that way, but this man was literally so unbothered. He teleported the gavel back in his hand with no issues. Higuruma is trying his absolute best to take this man Yuji out, and Yuji himself is doing a great job dodging his attacks. Him alone was able to kill 20 different players who tried to kill him first. This man is raw. He extended the length of the gavel to try to hit Yuji with it, then started moving it like a goddamn lasso. Once he realized that shit didn't work, he resorted to do the most amazing thing I've seen in anime. He threw the gavel at Yuji with one hand, made it appear in the other, then threw it again with that different hand, constantly repeating the exact same technique over and over again. It was like his own projectile. Yuji is running for dear life, trying not to get hit by that attack. He really said, "Huss, huss, huss, huss," while Higuruma is trying to find where Yuji is, and Yuji creeping around to find a surprise attack. We got to learn about confiscation and its effects on Yuji. Confiscation is basically a penalty triggered by a guilty verdict from judgment. It temporarily removes the target's curse technique. Since Yuji has no curse technique, it took away his curse energy instead. This made Higuruma just glazing Yuji on how good he is on raw strength alone and not relying on curse energy. From here, he realized how much of a problem Yuji is and started to lock in. Some air conditioner fell next to him and he immediately knew Yuji's location from there. He extends his gavel like it's a goddamn power pole and uses it to destroy the railing where Yuji was. Yuji jumps towards the stage and Higuruma follows behind. Yuji tried to catch him by surprise by smacking the tub he was in his face. He smashes through it, expands his gavel and slams it down at Yuji, trying to crush him. He's giving everything he's got to crush Yuji, damn near sweating his ass off to deal the final blow. And Yuji ain't no different. He's trying his best to not get fully pancaked by Higuruma's gavel, trying to find a way to get out of this situation. Yuji thought of something fast and told Higuruma he wanted a retrial. They teleported back to the domain instantly. We found out that Yuji can get up to 2 retrials as long as he doesn't admit to his guilt. I guess that second choice from earlier was the right call. So we're about to start the second retrial and Yuji is ready to hear what he has to defend. Judgment brings up the events that happened in Shibuya, saying that he was accused of mass murder. You know, the whole thing with Sukuna, him popping his domain on all those people. Yeah, that part. And Yuji says something that completely surprised me when watching this at first. He completely admitted to the crime, saying that he killed them and wasn't going to deny it in the most serious face possible. Higuruma looks at Yuji in pure astonishment, like god damn, this nigga actually admitted it. Judgment gives him his verdict saying guilty, confiscated of his curse energy, and got the fucking death penalty. They're transported back to the stage and Higuruma's gavel turns into a fucking light sword called the Executioner's Sword. Anyone who is hit by that blade will die instantly. Like holy shit. So Higuruma starts yelling at Yuji because he was deadass enraged by Yuji's acceptance of guilt and death, which conflicted with his own nihilistic worldview. In case you guys didn't catch it, after he witnessed a defendant be charged with death when he was innocent, he snapped and turned violent. He started believing that humanity was inherently selfish, cruel, and wretched. Yuji admitting accountability and willing to die because he felt so guilty even though Sukuna killed those people changed his views. Yuji runs and jumps off the stage where he lands and punches the ground, creating a bunch of rubble and debris. Higuruma runs after him and jumps into that rubble. This man Higuruma is literally going through inner conflict during this split action, questioning why Yuji admitted his guilt even though he was innocent. Yuji was clearly innocent as the evidence judgment would have held Sukuna as the murderer, not Yuji, yet still he said he killed them. Higuruma comes in to hit Yuji with the Executioner's Sword and Yuji follows up with a punch. Right as it would have hit, Higuruma cancels the technique, allowing himself to be punched straight in the gut by Yuji, sending him flying towards a pile of rubble. After that, Higuruma starts talking about a penal code, basically saying that if a person has no control over their body, technically they didn't commit a crime. Since Sukuna had full control over his body, it was Sukuna's actions that led to the deaths of those people, not Yuji. Therefore, Yuji is innocent. I love this fight specifically because not only is it a fight, but it's essentially Yuji's own trial. After the events of Shibuya, Yuji labels himself as a murderer and has deep-seated guilt. In this fight or trial is a way to confront this guilt. It proves that he's innocent regardless of how he feels because it's just the facts. It was Sukina's actions and tendencies, not his. Thus, he has a chance for redemption.